Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is going to be a really quick video today. I don't usually do videos under 10 minutes because it doesn't really work well with the YouTube algorithm. Blame YouTube for that, I'm sorry. But I decided that this would just be a really quick one because I wanted to do a more tutorial style video for you guys so we can talk about some of my kind of more advanced tips that you might not usually think about when looking to climb the ranks in TFT. First of all, thank you to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There is a reference link in the description below. So what this video is going to consist of is talking over some tips that you may know and tips that you may not know. There isn't going to be anything like revelationary in here, but there is going to be some things that you might not usually think about when playing TFT. And the first tip is you're going to lose. You can't get top 4 every game. This is just a fact of TFT. So what you need to do is look to aim for as high a rank as possible. And it's about understanding when you're in a position where top 4 is probably out of your reach. And you want to assess your HP, your economy and items, especially in stage 4. You want to... A good checkpoint to follow is usually, are you less than 30 HP from about 4-3 onwards? The reason that's a good checkpoint is that 4-3 is where some people look to go fast level 8, and compositions generally tend to come online at level 8. A lot of the big late game ones do anyway, and that's where you can really start to lose lots of HP in a round if you're not keeping up with the rest of the competition. How close are you to your power spikes? Which level 2 and 3 units do you need to actually make your composition powerful in the late game? How good are your items? Are they good for the composition that you're running, or are they subpar? What is your economy like? Do you have 50 gold? Or do you have 10? And what level are you? And that relates to your economy. If you're level 7 with 10 gold at round 4-3, you're in a desperate situation, so you've got to act as if you're in a desperate situation. If you're level 8 with 50 gold at round 4-3, even if your health is 30, you're in a good position to potentially try and stabilize. So all about assessing your state in the game. And that comes with experience, but in those situations, what do you do? If you're in a bad situation in the later stages of the game and you're just looking to stabilize and get like a 5th or 6th, maybe even a 4th at best, you roll your gold. You look for big carries that can help get you through some rounds. You combine whatever items you have, so don't wait for the perfect itemization. Sometimes you just need to combine and find the best of your situation. Go to level 8 if possible and look for 5-cost carries that can help preserve or win, like GP, MF, and Thresh, and position for your worst case matchup. If you have 20 HP, position for the person that's likely to take 20 HP away from you, rather than positioning for the person that if you lose, you might lose 8 or 9 HP. Now, why do we do this? TFT is all about positive LP games over tens of games rather than a single game. And getting a 5th and 6th is much better than getting an 8th. So doing this helps you recognize when you are and aren't strong in a game, and you can actually use that to apply to your regular gameplay as well. You can assess when you are strong, and that might allow you to make good level up decisions, or you can assess when you aren't strong, and that might allow you to understand when to roll. And you might make a huge comeback in a game, which is really important as well. So that was like the longest first point. Now let's talk about some slight extra ones. Tip 2 is play around carries, not always around comps. There are definitely some comps that you need certain units for, things like hyper roll comps and rebels, but lots of carries in this game are flexible and they fit into different compositions very easily. Jinx, for instance, can go into brawlers, vanguards, even a demo gangplank frontline. So just think about the carries rather than the actual compositions that you see online sometimes. Work with the items that you have and play those carries with whatever comps you can get. Like I said, Jinx, if you've got Jinx items, play Jinx. It doesn't matter if you have the full brawler setup. You can work with vanguards for a long time in a game. And run the basic concepts of a frontline, a support, a damage, and a utility. And that should allow you to have all the components needed to make a good composition. All right, tip 3. Buy early units to WINSTREAK. Do not buy them for your comp. And obviously there is an exception to this rule if you're playing like a hyper roll composition like Xayah, but in general you should always be looking to field units that give you the strongest board possible, and you should always be looking to WINSTREAK in the early game. Yes, okay, lose streaks are possible to make work. I've seen people open fort before just to get a good economy going, but they are risky and you take a lot of HP damage. It's always better to look to WINSTREAK, and if you can't, lose streaking is definitely a second option. This helps preserve HP, which preserving HP is usually the #1 tactic to get a high placement in a game, because you can usually work with high HP values and tank a little bit more in the mid game when you're looking to transition. This gives you flexibility, and it also allows you to maneuver around your items and the carries that you find as you go. Obviously, like I said, there are exceptions, and there are good early units to think about, things like Caitlyn, TF, Vanguards, Xayah with items, Ziggs 2, Blitz, blasters, snipers, etc. There are just good units, and if you want to find out more about those, I have done a guide, which I'll link in the description below, about playing like a master player. Tip 4, slam items in the early game pretty much always. There are certain compositions which require specific items, but in general, always look to utilize the items that you get. They will help contribute to win streaks, but they'll also help preserve HP. I would always say that you should be looking to combine at least one item by stage 2-4, because this is the point in the game where actually preserving HP can start to matter quite a lot. I've got a video, like I said, in the description. I'll link it. Play like a master player. It'll give you a bit of a guide to early compositions and units, as well as items. Always look for universal items where possible: Redemption, GA, Ionic Spark, Trapclaw, etc. And some items are specific but can be flexible. Red Buff, it can be used in a few different compositions: Hurricane, Deathblade, Infinity Edge. These are all good items in the early game, and they are flexible for the carries that you can find. Next tip, think about why you are spending gold. So this is more of like a kind of a getting you guys to think about what you're doing in the game rather than just telling you to do something. Why? Okay, so the first point is think about why you're leveling up. I always say that you need a reason to level up. So if you're leveling up, think about why you're doing it. I've given a couple of reasons here that I think that you should think about if you are looking to level up and need a reason to do so. Okay, so the first one is you have an impactful unit to play. So you'd level up because you have a 2-star to put in, or a unit that's going to complete a synergy. And that leads into point B. If you're activating an important synergy that will help continue your win streak or help preserve HP. C, you're trying to maintain a win streak. It's perfectly valid to level up to try and maintain a win streak. D, you have the economy to support it. It's okay if you're 50 gold plus to just invest all of that gold into leveling. If you're not needing to stabilize by rolling, or you're not playing a slow roll composition, then obviously the best way to solidify an advantage in a game is to put that gold into experience. And lastly, you need access to the higher roll chances, especially if you're in a situation where you're desperate for a 4th cost carry. Going up a level and getting the higher percentage roll chances, or going fast 8 to get the higher percentage roll chances for a legendary, is important. And the same applies to why would you roll. Think about why you are rolling and what you are doing with your gold. I would roll if I had lots of pairs, for instance. Like I had loads of pairs on my bench, and getting those 2-stars are going to make my composition significantly stronger. You need an important unit to bring your build online. If you're missing one unit that activates a synergy that is crucial for your composition, then obviously you should be looking to roll for it if you can. You need a 4 and 5 cost and you're being contested. I've seen people roll at level 7 and level 6 to look for an important 4 cost because they're obviously being contested for that unit and they want to get their hands on it first. But do remember that you should be rolling at the point where you have the highest chances to find the unit that you need. You need to roll to find upgrades or you'll die. I talked about it earlier, but rolling to get the upgrades necessary to maintain a win streak, or to keep yourself in the game, is a valid reason to roll for gold. Or you're hyper rolling or slow rolling. These are other 2 reasons that rolling gold is obviously important. So yeah, I think really what I'm saying here is I'm challenging you to think about why you're spending your gold more so than anything. There is always a reason to spend gold in TFT. Rolling or leveling randomly with no real goal is not going to serve a purpose. And finally, learn the basic theory behind positioning. This is something that I cover pretty extensively in my guide about positioning, which I've got on the channel, and there is lots of good guides on YouTube about positioning. But the number one tip that I have for new players is, well, maybe not new players, because maybe new players is maybe a bit excessive. But what I would say is don't always copy positioning that you see in a guide. Positioning in TFT is fluid, and it's dependent on who you are facing. And again, like I said, there are plenty of positioning guides on YouTube. I want you to think about why you position that way that you do. Who are your ranged units attacking first? Let's say that you have a ranged unit with no Last Whisper and you're going up against someone that's got Vanguard's Bramble Vest. That ranged unit is going to be stuck on that unit for the whole game. So think about who you want your ranged units to attack first. Who is taking damage and why are they taking damage? Are they just a tank like Malphite? Or is it like a Gangplank or a Cho'Gath and you want them to ult as quickly as possible into a fight? Who is the enemy team going to focus first? Think about that as well. Look at where their ranged carries are positioning. In general, carries will always try and search for a target directly in front of them. They will never randomly sort of pick a target on the front line. So who do you want the enemy carries to focus as a matter of priority? Think about where the enemy blitzcranks are. Again, in my positioning guide, I talk about where blitzcranks can pull from, and mostly think about playing around blitzcranks. Look at Zephyrs. Zephyrs are super important, and you need to make sure that a very Like the worst case scenario for me, it happened in a game today, is I didn't pay attention to one of the 5 players when we just beat Kane, and he Zephyr'd my gangplank and I lost the game. I came 5th because I just didn't pay attention to where one of the Zephyrs in the game was, and this comes down to scouting. And infiltrators, is the enemy playing infiltrators? If they are, who do you want to be focused by the infiltrators? Don't leave someone isolated if there's a Kha'Zix, for instance. So this is just a way to make you think about positioning. And again, it's the biggest tip is don't always copy the exact positioning that you see online. As you get better at TFT, you'll start to understand why things are positioned the way they are, and why that is impactful in a game. So I just want you to really think about positioning in general when you're playing this game, and try and think about the reason that you've positioned the way that you have. So that's important as well. I did say this video wasn't going to go over 10 minutes, but it has. So I should probably close it here before I talk forever. But I just wanted to do this little guide today, and hopefully help some people out.